Welcome, everyone. Dr. Anthony Criniti IV here, also known as Dr. Finance. We got an amazing guest today for you. We got Dr. Bill Dorfman. He's a celebrity dentist, one of the top dentists in the world. He's worked on dentistry for so many amazing people. Also, he was a member he was a part of the movie, well, the series, Extreme Makeover, as well as a regular on The Doctors. And we'll get some more exact information about that in just a moment. So welcome, Dr. Bill. How are you, sir?
I'm good. How are you, Dr. Finance?
All right. Thank you, Dr. Bill. Dr. Bill, if you want maybe a 36-second quick snapshot, and then we're going to get into your story for a little bit. And just to let you know, the formula after that is I ask you about maybe 20 questions or so, and then we'll close out. So maybe a 30-second snapshot if you want to tell us a little about yourself, and then we'll get into your story.
Well, it all started when I literally fell into dentistry. I was a little kid. I had an accident. I knocked out all my teeth. We had a great dentist. I thought, this is what I want to be. So I grew up always wanting to be a dentist. I became a dentist. And then I used dentistry as a springboard for a lot of other things in my life. I launched a company called Discus Dental, where we created Zoom. Not video conferencing, Zoom tooth whitening. From there, I was fortuitous to be a part of the ABC hit show called Extreme Makeover, which really helped Zoom sales Zoom. And from there, I went on to The Doctors. I became a New York Times bestselling author. And I guess if you wanted to really kind of put it all in perspective, my mantra for life is learn so you can earn and then return. And I'm really in the return phase of my life. I spend about half of my waking hours doing philanthropic work and the rest doing dentistry when I'm working. And that's pretty much a snapshot of me.
Wow. Thank you, Dr. Bill. That was incredible. So let's get into your story if you don't mind. I'd like to start with childhood. Let's start. Where were you from? And then I love to hear that story about how you got your teeth knocked out, because I believe that a lot of things that happen in childhood really determine a lot of things we become, our purpose, etc. So, if you want to start from maybe the first 10 years.
First 10 years, I grew up in Granada Hills. I'm the oldest of 5 kids. We moved to Granada Hills. I was born and lived in LA, right in West Hollywood. My mom divorced when I was a little kid and had 3 babies. And that wasn't easy back then because there wasn't a lot of government funding or help or anything. But my mom was a really strong lady. And when she divorced, somebody reconnected her with a man that she had dated in high school, Sandy Dorfman. And he married my mom and adopted me and my brothers. He had just lost his wife. She passed away in child labor. And so, we were 4 boys and we moved into the Valley. And I had a great childhood. I was about 3.5 when I fell. I knocked out my baby teeth. We had a great dentist who kind of, I don't know, I found the whole thing really fascinating how, he kind of put me back together. And since I had 3 little brothers, every time we'd go to the dentist, I would sit and watch him work on them. And I thought, this is cool. I want to do this. I want to fix people up like this. And it never wavered. So I grew up, I wouldn't even say I grew up. Like, I was always an adult. Like, I was never a little kid. I don't know how to explain it, but like, I remember when I was 5 years old, I came home from kindergarten and my mom and dad said, okay, son, how was school? And I said, well, school was great, but the kids are so immature. I was 5. I was never a little kid. I had such a hard time growing up and understanding like teasing and fighting, and like I just always stood back and looked at it like, what are they doing? They're so immature. You know, I even asked my mom this, you know, I'm 63 now, right? And I asked my mom, I said, Mom, did I ever get in trouble for anything? She's like, yeah, no. I never wanted to like make waves, you know, I always kind of did what I knew I was supposed to do and didn't waver. You know, I wasn't a rebellious kid. I never did drugs. I still don't drink. I don't know. I just always kind of did what I knew I was supposed to do and felt comfortable about that. I never had to worry about getting caught or getting in trouble because I didn't do anything wrong. I was like, I guess I was like a stupid little goody two shoes kid. That was me, you know? I came home from school a year later when I was 6, and I told my parents I was done with school. They're like, wait, what? I said, well, I know how to read now. And so I'll just read everything. I don't need to go to school. They're like, no, we think you should keep going. I said, okay. I didn't argue with them. I'm like, okay. You know, but I just figured, why should I go to school? I'll just read it all.
You would have been a perfect online student, huh?
What?
You would have been a perfect online student these days.
I was the first online student. I was a really strange kid. I never really fit into any group. You know, like how when you're in high school and stuff, you've got like, I don't know what it was like where you grew up, but you know, we had like the surfers and then the lowriders and then the geeks. Like I was like Switzerland. I was just friends with everybody. I didn't really identify with any group at school. I just kind of like showed up and was just nice to everybody and didn't, I don't know. I was like Switzerland. And so the first 10 years, and then I went to junior high. And again, I didn't understand all the teasing and the bullying. I just was never a part of that. I just kind of did my stuff, you know. That was me.
Did you have a lot of entrepreneurial jobs or just any, you know, jobs, a lot of side jobs when you're in, you know, your preteen years, your early high school years? High school years.
There were no, the word entrepreneur didn't even exist then in my life. Like I pulled weeds, right? I was 4 years old and I got my first job with Mrs. McCarthy. I got 50 cents an hour. I would go to her house and I'd pull weeds. And then when I got a little bit bigger, I was allowed to push the lawnmower, not the electric one, the hand lawnmower. And then when I was, 14, I got hired at Ralph's grocery store. I was a box boy. And then when I was 6,
wow, me too. I used to be a box boy for a pizza place.
Yeah. Then when I was 16, I got 2 jobs. I worked at, my mom was a nursery school teacher. I worked at the nursery school as a janitor. And then after that, I got hired at Swenson's ice cream parlor. And I was a ice cream server.
Wow.
And I mean, I started working at 4 or 5 and I never stopped. I worked all through college, all through high school, and even all through dental school.
Yeah, so your work ethic is at the highest level, and it's always been, and that's you know, that's a huge quality of a successful person. What was it like when as a dentist? Well, actually, let me step back a second. So then you graduated high school. Which colleges did you go to?
So my dream was to always go to UCLA because my uncle had gone to UCLA and my family were big Bruins. So I went to UCLA. Secretly, I wanted to go to Stanford, and I got accepted. Unfortunately, you know, we were pretty poor and Stanford was super expensive, and I didn't get enough scholarship money to go to Stanford, but I pretty much got a full ride at UCLA. So I went to UCLA, which wasn't bad. It was awesome. I had a great experience there. And then from UCLA, I went to dental school in the University of the Pacific. It's called UOP. Now they changed the name to Degoni School of Dentistry. It's up in San Francisco. When you walk into Degoni School of Dentistry, on the main floor is the large auditorium. I donated that to my school. So it's called the Dorfman Hall. And there's a story behind that, but I had a great experience in dental school. Again, growing up poor, I had never really traveled, and I graduated dental school. I was one of the youngest graduates in the country at 24. I didn't really want to settle down and become ensconced in a practice where I wouldn't have the ability to really travel a lot. And since I didn't have a lot of money, traveling wasn't going to be that easy anyhow. So I heard about this clinic in Switzerland, and I thought, wow, that would be cool if I could go there, for a few years and kind of see Europe and live in Europe. Problem is, they only took one American and they had 400 applicants. So I was bound and determined to be the one, right? So I had every professor in my dental school that I have ever been talked to write me a letter of recommendation. And these letters were amazing. You know how I know? I wrote them all. So I would just ask a professor to write a letter and they'd be like, oh no, another letter. I go, wait, I'll write it. Just personalize it. I'm like, all right, I can do that. So I send all these letters and I'm not hearing anything back. So I thought I'd call the director. His name was Monsieur Schreier, right? And he spoke with this very, very heavy French accent. And so I called him and I realized I don't think he read any of these letters. So I started doing these weekly phone calls. And, back in 1983, it wasn't easy to make international phone calls. You had to call the operator. It was a whole thing. And it was expensive. And I was broke. So I start calling this guy and I realize, well, this isn't moving the needle either. And I tell kids who come to my LEAP program, which we'll talk about in a little bit, you will have life-defining moments. Sometimes you plan them, sometimes you don't. They just happen. And this one particular day, one just happened. And we're sitting on the phone talking, and I'm realizing that there's a snowball's chance in hell that I'm going to get hired by this guy. And I said, can I take you to lunch? He said, lunch? I said, yeah, lunch. He goes, but you're in San Francisco and I'm in Switzerland. I'm like, yeah, no problem. I'll fly out, which was even funnier because I was broker than broke. And he's like, okay. So I figured out a way to borrow money to fly to Switzerland to meet this guy. And I bought a Eurail pass and I thought, well, I'm not really a Eurail guy, right? So I took all the money I could gather and, I got some graduation gifts and whatnot. And I found this really, really, really cheap car rental company. And I figured I'd just rent a car for a month. And I don't want to sit on a Eurail thing. I'll just drive around Europe. I brought a girl that I was best friends with, and she and I decided in a worst case scenario, I just go to Europe and see Europe for a month and come home and start practicing. So I went and I met him, and he hired me, and I stayed for 2 years, and it was amazing. I learned to ski. I met so many amazing people. Et aussi, je peux parler français maintenant. Avant, je peux pas. I became completely fluent in French, and I'm not great with languages. But when you're living there and you're immersed in it, it helps. And it was a really fantastic experience for me. My family was from Europe. I got to really see Europe on the weekends, the Americans in the clinic, and I would just hop on a train and spend a weekend in Italy or a weekend, in Holland or whatever. It was because it's so close in Europe. And it was just a really, really great growing experience for me.
Wow, that's incredible, Dr. Bill. I did the Europass thing too when I studied in Florence in Italy for 6 months, long time ago. That's a really good way that it worked out for you, because you went over there and you wound up staying, and you incorporated a potential career at the same time. So you got to have your cake and eat it too. So
yeah, it was fun.
So Dr. Bill, just maybe a few more tidbits to your story, and then we're going to get to your questions. I definitely want to learn about LEAP and some of the other amazing things that you're doing. So fast forward to getting your own dental practice. How did that go about? And how long did you have your own dental practice for? Maybe 2 minutes or so.
So I'm working in Switzerland, and I came home about a year and a half later for 4th of July weekend and to see my family and stuff. And I went to a picnic with my parents, and there was a man there named Bud Hoffman. And Bud Hoffman was a very well-known cosmetic dentist in Century City. And he offered me a job when I came back from Switzerland. So I finished out my 2-year residency. I came back and I worked with Bud for 2 years. And the objective was I was going to basically take over this practice and buy him out. But during that 2-year period, he went through a divorce. His financial situation changed tremendously. And to be honest with you, I was bringing in way more patients than he was, like to the point where our little office couldn't hold both of us.
Wow.
And he pulled me aside one day and he said, listen, the best thing I could do for you is to let you go. He said, you don't need my practice. He goes, your practice is growing 10 times faster than mine. We don't even have room for all the patients. He said, you've learned everything you need from me. He said, open up your own practice. And, and I did. And he has remained a great friend and a great mentor to me. I opened up right next door to him. There was a dentist who left the building. And so it was already plumbed and built and everything. I didn't have to invest a lot of money in it. And that's how it started. So I opened up my practice. I wasn't super busy, and another dentist reached out to me, Stanley Vogel. He was the Hollywood dentist at the time, and he needed help in his office, and we were connected through the laboratory that we both use called Da Vinci Dental. And Stanley asked me to come in and help him, and he wanted me to buy his practice. But I wanted to buy my own practice. So I told Stanley, I'll work for you a few days a week till you find somebody, but I really want to stay in my own practice. And it was crazy because I didn't grow up with celebrities. Like, I grew up in Granada Hills. And the very first day I was in Stanley's office, I saw 3 of the biggest movie stars alive at the time. And every day I was in there, it was like that. It was like the who's who of Hollywood. And I didn't really learn like didactic dentistry from Stanley. What I learned was communication. I learned how to talk to people, how to communicate with, with these mega stars and billionaires and whatnot, because these were not people I was ever used to being around. And that was really the most valuable thing is I learned, how to talk to people. And, we treat everybody like a VIP in my office. But, when somebody walks into your office and they make their living based on their looks, like, the Victoria's Secret girls. That's pretty much all they got. I mean, they're not going to go out and discover the cure for COVID. Their whole livelihood depends on how they look. And when you're doing cosmetic procedures on somebody whose whole life revolves around their appearance, yeah, there's a lot of pressure, and being able to communicate and to talk to these patients and understand, and your idea of beauty and my idea may not be the same. So as a provider, as a healthcare provider, and somebody that's going to be changing somebody's appearance, you really need to be able to listen to them and understand what it is they want so you can deliver. Because what you may have in your mind and what I may have in my mind are two different things. And I need you to be happy. So that was a really valuable thing I learned from Stanley, was how to really communicate with people, understand what they want. And then, it's kind of like the sizzle and the steak. You got to deliver great steak at the end.
That's brilliant. Thank you, Dr. Bill. All right. So before we get into the questions, one thing I just want to step back on for a second. So I don't know if you know much about me. I grew up in Philadelphia, particularly in South Philadelphia, very poor, from four grandparents, they all died broke, so we started out very, very humble. I'm just curious. I know you said you started out humble. Maybe what are some of the top three, or even, two or three memorable events in your life, if you could summarize it real quick, of growing up poor and how you reacted to that situation, those situations?
You know what? It's all I knew. Like, I wasn't like, I didn't have any resentment. We were just poor, but we were happy. I mean, I didn't have, like when I turned 16, I didn't get a BMW. When I was 16, my grandfather had this beat up old station wagon that was barely running. And my mom talked him into giving it to me, not so like my 16-year-old could have a car, so my 16-year-old could help drive my four younger siblings around, and mom didn't have to do it all. So it wasn't like, oh, wow, I mean, I had, my car was like, they called it the green weenie. It was just like, it was this big station. It was this big, ugly, beat up old station wagon. And the only reason I got it was not because my parents wanted me to have a car. So I could literally like drive my little, because we had a sister then too, my little brothers and my sister to their, football and baseball. And like my poor mom didn't have to just be like the Uber driver. So, but we were always happy. I mean, like, we never went on lavish vacations. Our vacation every year, we'd get in the car, we'd drive to Las Vegas and stay at grandma's house because my grandma lived in Vegas. That was our vacation. I never got on an airplane until I was in college, and I was a gymnast. So I was part of the UCLA Spirit Squad. So I would like tumble and stuff at football games and stuff. And so I got to travel. That was when I first got to like fly and travel and go places. But I mean, I didn't grow up bitter or resenting my parents. I knew that if I wanted something, I had to work and go get it. And so I did. And that's just how it was.
Thank you, Dr. Bill. Excellent commentary. All right, so Dr. Bill, we're going to move into some things which are definitely going to touch upon the rest of your story at different intersections. So, for example, you also have, I believe, some books out there. If you want to give us maybe a quick overview of your books, maybe 30 seconds or so that you have.
Yeah. So I started practicing dentistry, and I soon realized that there wasn't a book for smile styles. Patients would come in and they talk about what they wanted their teeth to look like, but it was really hard to communicate between the patient, me, and the lab. So my first book was called The Smile Guide, and I basically cataloged different smile styles, and it's still used today. This came out in like maybe 1989. And that was my first book. And then later on, after I had been on ABC's Extreme Makeover, there was this huge proliferation of books on fitness and changing your body, and Bill Phillips wrote this huge bestseller, and he was a patient of mine, Body for Life, and he was a New York Times bestseller for that. And an agent named Jan Miller, who did self-help books, started working with me, and we decided to do a book on cosmetic dentistry. And I did a book called $1 Billion Smile. And when they first came to me, they asked me about, doing a book. I'm like, I have no desire to do a book. I want to do a New York Times bestseller. And they're like, really? I'm like, yeah, like, who needs to write a book? If I do a New York Times bestseller, I could do The Tonight Show and Rosie and Ellen and like, nobody cares about a book. They're like, okay. So I did some research, and I found a company called Promote a Book. And the guy who owned it was Michael Drew. And we met, and I said, what do I need to do to make a New York Times bestseller? And I gave him kind of a preview of what the book was going to be. And he said, at that time, you had to sell 20,000 books in the first 2 weeks to become a New York Times bestseller. And I sat back and I thought about it, and I said, okay. At the time, Discus Dental had 100,000 dentists ordering product from us every month. And then we rated those dentists. And if you broke it down by A, B, C, D, and F dentists, our A and B dentists were 20,000 dentists. Wow. I said, well, what if I bought the book for them and gave it to these 20,000 dentists as a gift, and then asked them to buy more copies, and all the money would be donated to charity? Now, you can't do that today, but back then they said, sure, as long as you pay full retail. So I bought 20,000 books. I sent it to our 20,000 best clients, thanking them for supporting my company and telling them if they bought more books, the money would all go to the LEAP Foundation. And so, we talked about cases that I did on ABC's Extreme Makeover, and a lot of other cases that we had done. And it was the first book on dentistry ever to make the New York Times bestseller list. And I was the first dentist to ever be on the New York Times bestselling list. And yeah, it became a New York Times bestseller. And after buying those 20,000 books, the dentists that we bought it, that I gave it to as presents, bought many, many more books. And all that money went to LEAP. We raised about $300,000 for LEAP. So it was a win-win-win all the way around.
Was there any other books that you produced other than that?
Nah, I'm done. Doing a book took so much
Oh, it's
time.
a lot of work.
I mean, and I mean, this book has 220 pages, and I have literally read it from cover to cover so many times. I mean, it was a lot of work, a lot. Look who's in here.
Oh, wow.
It was pretty fun. It was fun to do.
They were all your clients that you put in there?
A lot of them are my clients. Yeah. We talked about different smile styles.
Oh, okay.
So I use Trump as a smile style, not to say I did his teeth.
Oh, okay. All right. Thank you, Dr. Bill. That's incredible. I'm still trying to get to that New York Times best-selling status. How much, by the way, was each book retail at that point? We're just doing a little math here.
1995.
1995 and 20,000 books. And that's what it would have cost to become a New York Times bestseller back in, I believe.
Yeah.
The 90s.
And so, yeah, I bought all those books, and then, Amazon and all the different, we didn't buy them all from one place, Barnes and Noble. I mean, and then when we split it up and we sent it to 20,000 dentists, and they put a very nice little note in there saying, hey, thank you for being a loyal customer of Discus Dental, yada, yada, yada. And all the money generated from this book will go to charity if you'd like to buy more. Then when they bought the additional copies, they could pay half price. But the 20,000 had to be at full retail.
Yeah, in order to be legit, I guess.
Right.
To get qualified. Which leads to the next thing. I know you want to talk about this. You want to tell us about LEAP, your foundation program?
Yeah, I mean, basically, as I told you in the beginning, earn so you can learn and then return. LEAP is a motivational leadership foundation that we started 15 years ago for high school and college students. These were the 2020 dates. The 2023 dates will be about the same time. And we basically teach kids the skills that they need to be successful in life. And we do it through workshops and interactive workshops and bringing on amazing mentors and speakers. I've had in the past Paula Abdul, Mark Wahlberg, Michael Strahan, Hannah Brown from The Bachelor, Kathy Bates, Anthony Hopkins, Apollo Ono, our mayor, Eric Garcetti, Jason Alexander. This year I had Prince Jackson, Michael Jackson's son, Richard Branson, Paula Abdul again. I mean, it's pretty phenomenal. We basically, like I said, we teach kids skills that they need to be successful in life. We teach them how to interview for jobs, how to write a resume, communication, networking, appreciation. I mean, things you don't learn in college, but that I find all successful people really know how to master.
So this is an event for several days every year.
It's a week-long program every summer at UCLA. Kids fly in from all over the world. I get 40 kids come from Australia. I became very good friends with Lisa Scafidi, who was the mayor of Perth, Australia. She gets 40 kids from Australia every year. I get probably 30 kids from Canada. And the cool thing is that 60% of the kids who come to the program come from impoverished families. So I go out and I raise money so these kids can come to the program. And you asked me when we started the show how you could help me. There's three ways that you could help me. Number one, if you could help me find people to sponsor kids, that'd be awesome. Because these kids come to the program and it literally changes their life. Number two, you could hook me up with great speakers who could come to the program and speak. I mean, all of these people that I mentioned, they came and spoke for free. They like me, believe that our future is in our youth. And number three, people that want to come as mentors. And what I mean by that is on Friday, we do something called a mentor workshop where I have 100 different professionals sitting in the audience, and it's like speed dating. And the students come up and just ask them questions about their career and their successes and their challenges and whatnot. And then every 30 minutes we rotate. And so, if you can hook me up with people that would be willing to come to LA and really sit and talk with the kids, that'd be great. If you could hook me up with speakers, and if you could hook me up with people that want to help finance the program and sponsor kids to come, that would be great. And I guess a fourth thing would be let your listeners know about LEAP. And if they have students who are 15 to 25, have them enroll in the program. We get about 450 kids every year, and it is phenomenal. I'll tell you something. One of the things we do at LEAP is we have the kids, I don't have one here, write something called an I appreciate note. And anytime anybody does anything significant for them during that week, we ask them to write an I appreciate note. And it starts off, it says, I appreciate, and it would say Dr. Bill for blah, 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 blah. And the last year that we did LEAP Live with our full, program, we had 450 kids in 2019. And I got 450 I appreciate notes at the end of the program. And 99% of them said, hey, Dr. Bill, LEAP changed my life. And I know it did. We give these kids skills and they go out and they crush it. And I said 99% because 1% will say something like this. Hey, Dr. Bill, LEAP saved my life. And I know it did. These kids come, they've got no support at home. They don't have any kind of validation. The first thing I do with kids when they come into LEAP is I say, listen, when you woke up this morning, whether you think you did this or not, you put a number on your head. 1's the lowest, 10's the highest. I said, why don't you put your fingers up there, play along with me, and feel your forehead. If you don't feel a 10 up there, raise your hand. Kids raise their hand, and I look out in the audience, I said, who picked the number? You. Did you have to take a test? Did you have to do? No. I said, wipe it off, put a 10 on your hand and stamp it up there on your forehead.
I like it.
I said, and from now on, I want you to walk like a 10, talk like a 10, act like a 10, but most importantly, surround yourself with other kids that are 10s. Because if you're trying to be a 10 and all your friends are 2s, I got news for you. You're not going to make it. Right? And so we do this whole thing called the 10 culture at LEAP. And I do these shout and repeat things where I'll say, I am, and they go, I am a 10, a 10. I walk like a 10. I talk like a 10. And we do this all week long. And you know what the craziest thing about this is? When we sold Discus Dental, now Discus Dental was the company that I created that did Zoom, right? When we sold Discus Dental, we sold it on 10, 10, 10 at 10 a.m. We grew that company from zero with no investors, no VC, nothing, from ground zero to $1.3 billion in sales, and sold that company to Philips. And the merger documents came into my office on 10, 10, 10 at 9 a.m. I signed the papers, and I was just about to scan it and send it back. I'm like, this has to be a perfect 10-day. So I waited for 1 hour, and I waited till exactly 10:00, push send, and off it went into, the stratosphere. And I'll tell you something, that day was indelible. Look, I always knew I'd be okay as a dentist. I mean, I never thought I'd starve. I never thought, I'd have to worry about, can I make a car payment? I knew I'd be comfortable if I worked hard as a dentist. But to create a company from zero to $1.3 billion in sales and sell it, that wasn't even on my radar. Like, I didn't even, I always say this to people, my career has exceeded every expectation I ever had. Really. I mean, and I'll tell you what I think are the two main reasons why. And I feel like when kids go to LEAP, if I can just get these two things into their little heads, I did my job. Number one, don't wait for opportunities in life, make them. If I meet another millennial who tells me they're waiting for the universe to do X, Y, and Z, I want to like pull my hair out. The universe doesn't care about you. Don't think it does. It doesn't. You need to care about you. And number two, when you get an opportunity in life, don't take it. Master it. Master it. Big difference. When ABC gave me the opportunity and put me on their show, Extreme Makeover, this was a birth of reality TV. Nobody knew where this was going to go. They put me on that show. Dentistry, no problem. TV, I stunk. I'm not lying to you. Like if you watch the first 2 or 3 episodes, it's painful. You know the saying, a deer in headlights? That was me. Like I could do the dentistry, but now they're shining lights on me. And I'm sitting here thinking, millions of people are watching me right now. And I was not good. But I'll tell you what I was. I was smart enough to know how bad I was. And I did something about it. I took acting classes, hosting classes, teleprompting classes. I hired Raimi Warren, who worked with all the kids on American Idol and all these different shows, to sit down with me and teach me how to do what you and I are doing right now. Because this was not in my wheelhouse. I was a dentist. I could drill teeth really, really good. But to sit there and explain it and make it engaging and have an audience want to listen to me, no, that was not what I was built to do. But I learned if I could do that, if I can make interesting conversation about dentistry and I could engage people, they're going to want to watch. And it was an amazing experience for me. I mean, we shot a pilot in 2003. ABC aired that pilot. We got the highest ratings of any pilot they shot that year. They immediately picked us up for 24 episodes.
Wow. First
patient, first episode needed 20 porcelain veneers, 10 uppers, 10 lowers. At the time I was charging $1,500 a tooth. You know, that was a $30,000 case. I sent the invoice to ABC before I started for their approval. They freaked out. They called me back, go, Dr. Bill, we had no idea that dentistry was this expensive. So, well, it is. They said, I mean, 30,000. I'm like, yeah. They said, can you maybe just do 3 teeth? I'm like, her teeth are black. Like, what am I gonna make 3 white ones and say, oh, but the rest? I'm like, no. I said, we need to do 20. And then again, a life-defining moment. I said, I'll make a deal with you. And this was completely impromptu. And one of the smartest things I ever did in my life. I said, I'll do all the dentistry for free under the following 3 conditions. Number 1, I'm the only dentist. Number 2, you highlight Zoom tooth whitening in every episode. And number 3, you need to mention Da Vinci veneers in every single episode, because I don't want to do this case for free and then have a $20,000 lab bill. If you'll let me say that these are Da Vinci veneers, the lab will do it for free. And they said, fine. My agent put in our contract. That would never, ever, ever happen on reality TV today. Never. So ABC didn't pay me, but let me tell you what did happen. Discus Dental started off kind of slow. We did 2 million, 4 million, 8 million, 16 million. We kind of plateaued at like 76 million. Couldn't break that barrier. Crest white strips were out there. There were other whitening products. I mean, there was other competition. The year I got on Extreme Makeover, our sales jumped from 76 to 101 million. The next year I did 136 million. And in our last year on the show, I did almost $200 million in sales.
Wow.
So ABC didn't pay me, It's okay.
Dr. Bill, I appreciate that. That was a great share. And there's a lot of lessons to be learned there. I want to just address the one thing you mentioned before, and then I want to get on to the comments because I some more questions because I know that you have a time constraint today and I have a lot of questions. So going back to the leap to answer your question, I have a lot of many guest speakers that come on my stage every Friday on Clubhouse, all of them super champions for free. They've been doing it for free. I never paid for one. So I can certainly ask some for you as well. Number two, support wise, I mean, we got this podcast. We're going to post it out to 1 million+ followers. If you reshare it, we can get some more interaction. The Clubhouse stage next month, we also promote it over there as well, maybe get you some traction. And as far as mentorship, I'm sure the speakers may also, if there's any that are interested, would like to do the mentorship as well. And fourth thing, you know, I don't know if you know, so I'm a host on a Friday night for over 1.5 years on Clubhouse for one of the biggest stages there. And maybe I can use my skill to help your children's your LEAP Foundation at no cost as well. So I'll volunteer myself as well for that. If you're interested,
that'd be awesome. You know, and just, you know, if people want more information, our website's easy. It's leapfoundation.com. And, you know, you can sign up right now for next year's program. We usually sell out about a month beforehand, but it's pretty amazing. And I've never had a kid go through the program that didn't love it. In fact, most kids will say, Dr. Bill, this is my favorite week of the year every year coming to LEAP.
That's awesome. Thank you, Dr. Bill. Yeah, we could definitely talk more about that offline. We got some great questions for you here. Maybe about 20, 30 seconds each, because we got about 15 to 20. First is about your podcast. I don't know, I think you had a podcast, so I reserved this question. If you can.
Yeah, I do.
Can you tell us about it? 20, 30 seconds. Thank you.
It's called Meet the Mentor. We're ranked in the top 2.5 percentile of all podcasts worldwide.
What? Oh, that's awesome.
I work with Todd and I work with John on it. And John Largent produces it for me. And it's phenomenal. We are in the top 100 podcasts in 120 countries. And it basically started kind of like how yours did. I mean, I interviewed all these amazing people for LEAP, you know, Mark Wahlberg, Anthony Hopkins, you know, Richard Brandt. I mean, and I had all this great content and these guys were like, dude, put it in a podcast. So we did. So, you know, we hit the market running with all these big names and got huge traction and a great audience. And so every week I add another segment to the podcast. And it's been really great. And I think the thing that differentiates my podcast from others is not only do I interview people about, you know, what they do, but I also ask them to create kind of a roadmap for students. So if a student listening wanted to have a career in, you know, aeronautics, whatever, what do you need to do to get there? You know, if you want to have a career as a successful actor, what do you need to do to get there? So that's kind of, you know, the formula for my podcast.
How long has it been going on for?
About 2 years.
Wow. That's a pretty great track record. Most people fail the first 3 to 5 episodes.
Well, let me tell you something about failure. I never fail.
Yeah.
Never. Why? Because if I do something and it doesn't come out the way I want it to, I didn't fail. That's practice.
That's right.
You only fail when you quit. And I'm pretty tenacious. I never quit.
Thumbs up on that, Dr. Bill. Appreciate you. And you have an amazing group of accolades. So many cool things. And you're royalty now, I heard. Is that right?
Yeah. It's right here. There's my sword. Can you see it on the wall there?
Yeah. Wow. Look at that.
Yeah. The Royal Order of Constantine. I am officially and legally Sir William Michael Dorfman. I was, let's see, what was the date on that? Hold on a sec. 2018, I became Yeah, I was knighted by the Royal Order of Constantine that recognizes you for professional accomplishment and philanthropy. So yeah, that was kind of cool.
All right. Congratulations, Dr. Bill. Dr.
Thank
Bill, next question, maybe 20 seconds. How valuable is a smile in business?
Are you kidding? Look how you're smiling. I mean, look, if you are not confident with your smile and it holds you back from smiling, that's a big deterrent, because you may be self-conscious and, you know, covering it up, but what people see on the other side is a completely different perception. You know, they think you're not friendly, or if your teeth are really bad. You know, I had a poor girl who came to me who had a horrible, horrible genetic disorder where the enamel basically flaked off of her teeth. Like, you know, teeth are covered in enamel and then there's dentin underneath. All of the enamel flaked off. She looked like she was a meth addict, and it ruined her life. And this is a really sweet, beautiful soul. And she literally looked like she was a drug addict. And people didn't even give her the time of day. I mean, as soon as she talked to them and looked at them, it was such a turnoff, and it ruined her life. And changing her teeth changed her life. It gave her a life. So when you ask me how important is a smile, super important.
Dr. Bill, that leads to the next question. Great response. What is your most memorable makeover from the show to Doctors and Extreme Makeover? Maybe there's one particular one. And folks, whatever he says, you know, if you want, just go check it out on YouTube or whatnot. Maybe 10.
I mean, there were some really, really good ones, but I think if I can find the picture in my book, this one was literally a mind blower. When she walked out for her reveal, her husband fainted and needed, literally, he needed CPR. It was crazy. I wonder if I have her in my book. No, I didn't.
Folks, while he's looking for that, you got to check out. I was watching it, binge watching it, by the way, the other day, Dr. Bill, for about 3 hours with my family. We're sitting here watching episode after episode. It's just so incredible to watch people change like that.
This was a good one. This is Kim Rodriguez. I don't know if you can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Wow, look at that. That's amazing.
Game changer, right?
Thanks, Dr. Bill. Real quick, what celebrities have you worked with? Anyone you can roll off the top of your head? You already mentioned a few, maybe 10 seconds.
I mean, the only ones I can legally mention are the ones whose shows I've been on or have given me permission. So, you know, I can't like really mention all of them, but Katy Perry, Michael Strahan, Anthony Hopkins, Eva Longoria, Mark Wahlberg, Jason Alexander, Hugh Jackman, Jessica Simpson, Nick Lachey, all of Pentatonics. Who else? And again, I'm thinking of people who's all the Osbournes. Lemmy, we lost him 2 years ago. He was awesome. Yeah, it's been fun.
That's good. That's an impressive. You live a really interesting life. I just got to say that, well, you know, for the record. Dr. Bill, next question. I don't know if we can do this real quick. Let's try it. Best dental tips for the following. Now I'm going to name 4 things. I could probably do this for an hour with you, but we'll just do four top ones, top of my head. If you can just say like your best tip in like one sentence for each. So for example, bad breath, like one sentence, like what would you do to fix bad breath? Your best tip.
Brush, floss, and see your dentist every 6 months.
Okay.
And
I got a feeling that's going to be the answer for all.
Yeah, scrape your tongue.
Scrape your. That's what I was waiting for. I saw that episode with the tongue scraper. I thought that was really cool. Cracked tooth.
Cracked tooth. See your dentist. You can't fix it on your own.
Missing tooth.
See your dentist. You can't fix it on your own.
Slightly crooked teeth.
Don't do any of these mail order orthodontic things. They're BS. Go see a real orthodontist or dentist.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Appreciate you humoring me for that. All right, next question. How to leverage public relations to supersize your personal brand? Maybe in a minute or less. And the reason I'm asking this question, because you have done that, exactly that. And I commend you on it. You took a specific industry, became the best at that for dental. You got the first #1 New York Times bestseller dentist. I mean, the list goes on for what you specialize in. And you figured out how to go from zero regular guy to superstar, celebrity dentist in one industry. Other people will want to do this for their industry. There's millions of industries out there. What's your thoughts? How do you supersize that?
For me, it was PR. I mean, I was really fortuitous. Right when I started my practice, a woman I went to high school with came in and she was a publicist and we bartered. And she helped build my career and taught me the importance of PR. And you know, it's morphed. I mean, today it's all, you know, social media and this and that. I mean, but I still am active in that stuff. And you know, you need to do what's relevant at the time. But PR.
Thank you, Dr. Bill. Next question. You built a company called Zoom. By the way, I couldn't believe it when I found out you were the founder of this, because I used this stuff, I think 15 years ago or something. How to build a company to over $1 billion in sales. Zoom. Maybe you can, 30 seconds or so, maybe your top things that come to mind for that.
Okay, so first of all, the name of the company was Discus Dental, not Zoom. And the way that I built that company was by building a team. Robert Heyman was my partner. Robert is the son of Fred Heyman. Fred Heyman created Beverly Hills, Rodeo Drive, Giorgio Cosmetics. So Robert is my age. He grew up in that industry, was an MBA, and he augmented the skills I didn't have. Now, along the way, I went back to school. As we started building our company, I took business classes at UCLA because I knew the dentistry, but not the business. But if you ask me in a nutshell, build a team of really competent people so that they can complement the things that you don't have a lot of strength in, and work hard.
Thanks, Dr. Bill. Brilliant response. Dr. Bill, how did gold teeth become cool in the 90s? Maybe 10 seconds.
Gold teeth became cool because rappers wore them. You know, I mean, I don't know what else to tell you. I don't think they're cool.
Yeah. Thank you. Great response. As you can see, my humor, right? How to convert influence to profit? Maybe 10 seconds.
Image is everything. Image is everything. If you don't have the image that you want to portray, you need to fix that and make it something that is attractive to people and they'll pay for it.
Thanks, Dr. Bill. Great response. Why is health so important?
Because without it, you got nothing.
All right. How can we improve the lives of people living in poverty right now? So I know your legacy is about helping people at this stage of life.
It basically boils down to three things. You can give time, you can give money, or you can give both. And for me, I prefer to give both. You know, some people don't give any. That's their choice. But if you go through this life without having made the world a better place, shame on you.
Oh man, that's brilliant. I love it. I love it. Thank you, Dr. Bill. All right. What can you learn from studying the best in your industry? And I heard your story about how you benchmarked, I think you said the 5 top dentists in your area, and then incorporate into your own and just became, that's your bedrock to becoming great. Like, how do you benchmark the best in your industry? How did you do it?
I mean, obviously, you need to identify the best, but one of the main things we teach at Leap is copy genius. If you want to start a company and you want to make it super successful, open your eyes and look at what other companies that are successful in that niche are doing and then do it better.
That's awesome. Love it. Copy genius. That's a great one. All right. So now we're going to transition into, we're perfect time, by the way. This is like incredible, incredible speed. So Dr. Bill, I'm going to give you temple questions, same questions I've asked the people who've done so many amazing things like Les Brown, and we had Mark Victor Hansen on the show. He's the #1 New York Times best-selling record holder of all time for nonfiction books, Chicken Soup for the Soul. All the same people I've asked these questions to. For example, can one book change the world? Maybe 20 seconds or so.
You know, I hear the answer. If people read it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the whole thing. I mean, look at the Bible. Can one book change the world? Yeah. Only if people read it. How do you get them to read it? That's the secret.
And that goes back to the former question, right? Stepping up the PR, learning about how to make massive influence. Great response. Thank you, Dr. Bill. What role has networking played in your life?
It's everything. I mean, there is no man or woman in the world who's successful as an island. If you can't network, you can't create a successful business.
That's brilliant. Next question relates to this. And I told you my story before we started about mentorship. Is mentoring important? And who are some of your mentors?
I think mentoring is important. I don't think it's a deal breaker. I mean, there are people that really intuitively become incredibly successful without mentors. However, what I tell my students is that mentorship can shorten the length of time it takes you to become successful. And I had a lot of mentors in my life. My parents are mentors, my grandparents were mentors, and businessmen and women that, you know, I was close to became mentors.
Thank you. Brilliant. Thank you, Dr. Bill. Next question. What are your favorite financial books? I don't know if you read financial books, but if you do, business, investing, money books, any of those sorts, if you have anything.
Yeah,
It sounds like you're a Think and Grow Rich guy, because I heard.
Yeah, Think and Grow Rich, Good to Great. I mean, those are probably my two favorites.
Thank you, Dr. Bill. And I'm going to send you a free copy of my 3 books as well as soon as we're off. So appreciate you. All right. Do we need money to survive?
Do you need air? I mean, yeah. Look, I mean, people will tell you money doesn't buy happiness. Okay, they're right and they're wrong. And I'll tell you why. Money doesn't make you happy. I know a lot of incredibly wealthy people that are miserable. So money doesn't buy happiness, but it's really hard to be happy when you are broke ass poor. You know, I mean, life is no fun when you can't afford a meal or housing or this or that. So what does money do? Money gives you the luxury of choices you wouldn't have otherwise. You still need to make yourself happy.
Thank you, Dr. Bill. And folks, I hope you're taking notes, because think about all the people Dr. Bill's been exposed to in his industry, doing what he's been doing. He's seen the wealthiest of the wealthiest. He's also experienced poverty and wealth. So he definitely knows what he's talking about. One thing I like to add to that, Dr. Bill, is you're 100% correct. You know, the money is important. The thing is, most people, they don't want to accept the answer to that question. So it might seem obvious to us, but you know, the whole point of this show really is to educate others, to let them know the real thoughts about finance and money. So, and that leads to the next question: is finance necessary for everyone? And I'm talking about the science of finance.
Is it necessary for everyone? No. Is it important in business? Yes. But look at me. I mean, I grew this business from 0 to $1.3 billion. I was not the finance guy. I hired finance guys. I was the idea guy. I was the guy who came up with the image, who came up with the product. So, you definitely need finance and it needs to be in your team. Do you personally need to do it? No, build a team, but it has to be part of the team.
Mm. That's a brilliant way to look at it. Yeah, absolutely. At some point in time, someone close to you, if you really want to succeed, has to have that knowledge. I personally promote every individual to seek it on their own. And you've already learned a lot of these things, I'm sure. A lot of the lessons in finance you've learned just by being a successful business person. So, I commend you on that. I mean, just for example, just how to network and things like that. I incorporate that in the subject of finance. So thank you, Dr. Bill. Appreciate that. A few more questions left. How important is having a purpose in business? And what is your purpose? I'm sure you'll love this question.
I mean, I think it's really critical. You got to know why you're in business. One of the problems that entrepreneurs encounter is that they often fail to communicate what that purpose or that vision is. And I'll give you a really clear example. Let's say for Christmas, I bought you a jigsaw puzzle with 1,000 pieces, and I hand you the box. Now, what if the top of that box, instead of having a beautiful photograph of what the puzzle is going to make, was just blank? How hard do you think it would be to make that puzzle? And that's what we do in business. Is a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we have that vision, but we hand our employees a box with no picture on top, right? You need to share your vision in order to get buy-in, in order to get your team to understand what the goal is and where you're going. Everybody needs to see the top of that box of 1,000 pieces. And then it's going to get done much, much, much faster.
And what is your purpose, Dr. Bill? Maybe one sentence. My purpose.
My purpose right now, I just want to make the world a better place.
That's a great one. Thank you, Dr. Bill. All right, 2 more questions left. What would you like to accomplish in the next 10 years or so, and why?
Well, funny you should ask, because I am launching 2 new products, which you will hopefully see everywhere in the near future. The first is Poof, and it is a new take-home tooth whitener that is in a strip that dissolves. So it's a whitening strip. You apply it to your teeth and it melts on your teeth. Wow. So unlike some of the conventional strips that you have to take it off and throw it away when you're done, the other things about Poof that are really great is it's got great taste. It's easy to use. It's super comfortable on your teeth, and it doesn't cause tooth sensitivity. So you'll see Poof. I'm working with Great Healthworks on that. The other thing I just launched, and you can actually buy this online now. I hate coffee, but I love caffeine. So I use NoDoz, which is just a caffeine tablet, for years. And I found if I swallowed it, I kind of got a buzz in 30 minutes. But if I chewed it, I got a buzz in 10 minutes. It just tastes bad. So I made caffeinated chewing gum called
Wow.
Buzz Balls.
Oh, that's cool.
And it's 110 milligrams of caffeine per gumball. And every time I go to the gym, I take one, and it's like a pre-energy drink. If you're studying and you're getting sleepy and you're going to drink coffee, Buzz Ball. If you're driving and you want to stay alert, Buzz Ball. I mean, Buzz Balls are awesome, and they've tested off the charts in markets, and they're really delicious and they work.
That's incredible. Thank you, Dr. Bill. Any plans for movies or anything like that?
Oh, no.
The Rock and Dr. Bill.
Yeah, not my deal.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Bill. Dr. Bill, the last question. What would you like to be your legacy to this world? Maybe 10 seconds.
I mean, I just want to know I made a difference. It's really funny. just serendipitously in the last 2 days, I had 2 different women come into my office who have been patients of mine for 30 years, and completely and totally unsolicited, as they were leaving, they said, you know, Dr. Bill, I really love you. You changed my life. You may not even know how much you changed it, but what you did for me 20 years ago by, kind of giving me back my health and my appearance had such a huge impact on my life. Both of these women did that, and they said it with tears in their eyes. And for me, that's what it's all about. When I sold Discus Dental, I could have retired. I don't have to practice dentistry. I mean, there's a lot of other, but I do it because I love it. And I always say, he who gives receives the greatest gift. And for me, I just feel like I'm getting that gift back every day that I go to work.
That's brilliant, Dr. Bill. Appreciate you. And I want to close out and just say thank you so much again for being here. Honored to have you here. Looking forward to having you on the Clubhouse stage in the end. I believe it's the end of September. So folks, definitely check that out in the Finance Club. And before I close completely, I just want to leave the floor for you one last time. If there's anything you want to say or whatnot, floor is yours, Dr. Bill.
Thanks so much. Well, yeah, I would encourage you to listen to my podcast. There's really great information on there. I'm probably the only person I know with 1.4 million followers on Instagram who actually answers all my own DMs. So if you did want to get a hold of me personally, just go to Dr. Bill Dorfman on Instagram, and I promise it's actually me answering. And if you have kids 15 to 25, please send them to us at Leap.
And any other platforms you on? Like is Instagram's your main one, and also your website?
Yeah, I mean, I'm on YouTube and TikTok, but Instagram's really my deal.
Twitter too, right?
Yeah, I don't do it.
You don't do
I don't do it. Anything that Trump loves, I'm not into.
What is your website address?
My website's just Dr. Bill Dorfman.
Dr. Bill Dorfman.
Find me there.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dr. Bill. Dr. Bill, I'm going to walk you out in just a moment. I just want to quickly conclude. Folks, you've been watching the Dr. Finance Live podcast with Dr. Bill Dorfman. Definitely check him out at the website he just mentioned. Also, check out the website here. We're going to list the podcast on drfinance.info, on YouTube, and all over the main podcast directories, about 20 plus of them. Don't forget to check out the books, my 3 books, The Necessity of Finance, The Most Important Lessons in Economics and Finance, and The Survival of the Richest, about 500 plus pages. Folks, you've been watching the Dr. Finance Live podcast. We're going to see you again in the next episode. Thanks again, everyone. Don't forget to follow, like, and subscribe, and comment where necessary. All right, signing off. Thank you, everyone.